is Lucas, and today I'll be speaking about antibiotics and antibiotic-induced toxicity in particular. I wanted to share my experience with everyone. My experience, not just my experience, but that of my family's, because once you're impacted by antibiotics, it's more than your own battle. It's your family's battle, it's your friend's battle. So I will be sharing my experience, I will be sharing that of my family's experience, and hopefully educating some people about the subject, hopefully providing some hope for those who are suffering. And goodness knows there's so many people out there who are, so many people who are feeling off, feeling abnormal, and they have no idea why that is. So hopefully this video will shed some light on some people's health issues. Hopefully it will get people talking, and hopefully eventually down the road I hope that these antibiotics can be just wiped off the face of the earth, because they're doing so much damage to humans, to humanity. But in the meantime, I'll share my story, and hopefully we can take some lessons away from what happened here. Okay, so let me begin by saying that there may be some street noise. I have a street just behind me, so I do apologize if there is any audio issues. And this video might be a bit lengthy as well, because I want to cover many bases. There's so many aspects to adverse drug reactions, so I do apologize if this is a bit too long. But let me begin with a bit of a backstory to my life, to my history. I was a very, very healthy young male up until the incident. I was 34 years old, and at the prime of my life, I was an avid traveler. I love traveling. It was my biggest passion. I traveled to 24 different countries over the past 11 years or so. I lived in 3 different countries as well, and 5 of you include my country of origin as well as the country I'm living in now. And I also climbed 12 different mountains and volcanoes. So I was a very active person. I loved being a climber. I loved hiking, and I loved scaling mountains, volcanoes, and just being adventurous. And of course all that changed when I got hit with my adverse drug reaction. Now it's just climbing a bit of stairs, gives me a hard time. So that's the difference from before. That's the person I was. I was a happy person. I was a joyous person. I loved people and meeting new people and cultures. And antibiotics took all that away from me. They just took every ounce of my life away from me and changed me as a person. They changed me completely. My DNA, I can almost say for certain that it's changed as a result of them. And so that's what I wanted to share about how different of a person they can make you, how they can basically change your personality completely. So I'll speak to you about the antibiotics now that I took. Want you to know exactly which ones I took so that you can avoid them completely if you can, because they will destroy your life if you're allergic. And I stress the word allergic because some people can take these same antibiotics and not have a reaction, and that's great for them. But if you're allergic, and these antibiotics can just destroy your life. So be aware. I'll show you the ones that have impacted me now, so that you know exactly what they look like, and hopefully you can steer clear of them. So just to make it clear, there was actually two antibiotics, two different sets of antibiotics that I took approximately 5 months apart, that played a part in destroying my health. They were, the first one was for stomach bacteria. The stomach bacteria, the name of it was Helicobacter pylori, or H. pylori for short. So I was given a 14-day prescription for eradicating this bacteria from the stomach. I found out after the fact that 80% of the population has this bacteria and people are able to live with it, that there's no real requirement for taking the antibiotic in the first place, but doctors got to make their money, right? So it was a 14-day prescription. I was able to get through 10 days of it. Just absolute sheer hell in terms of side effects right from the start. But they tell you to keep taking it, so I kept taking it. And I remember day 2 of taking the first antibiotic. I actually had to have somebody drive me to the hospital, into the ER, because I was experiencing some unbelievably serious side effects, like this pressure in my head that I can't even explain. It was just an unbelievable pressure in the head, like 10 times, or make that 100 times worse than a headache. And then of course the doctors in the ER, I tell you, they barely examined me, and just gave me 3 Tylenols for the road, and that was it. They sent me on my way. So that was the first antibiotic, and actually that antibiotic was 3 medications in one. One is the actual antibiotic, and the other 2 are what they call PPIs, or proton pump inhibitors. So they act as acid suppressors, and the antibiotic is supposed to wipe out the bad bacteria. But antibiotics, they wipe out everything. And if I had known what I know today, I never would have taken this poison. So the antibiotic, just to show everybody what it looks like here, this is an actual picture I took of it. So it's 3 of them, like I said, and you had your the name of the antibiotic is, probably going to butcher the name here, but it's Clarithromycin. And the other 2 PPIs are metronidazole and pantoprazole magnesium. Again, the names are very complex, but I hope I'm getting that more or less right. And as far as the second antibiotic, that was taken for a ear infection, because I had gone to a walk-in clinic 5 months later, with all hell still breaking loose, and was getting my ear cleaned out. And the assistant nurse, or whatever you want to call her, she went in too deep with the syringe, and she actually caused my ear to bleed. So calls in the doctor, the actual doctor, and the doctor gives me an next antibiotic, which I didn't even know was an antibiotic. She gave me these drops for the ear, so take this every day for 7 days straight, 4 drops in the ear, and that's what I did. And that one just about, as I said before, put the final nail in the coffin for me. And this is the second one here. This is Cipro, otherwise known as Ciprofloxacin, which many people are familiar with nowadays. It's part of the Fluoroquinolone family of antibiotics, and it is doing a lot of damage to people's health these days. It is just poisoning people left and right, and not just in North America, but all over the world. So many people are being affected by this antibiotic, as well as the first one that I mentioned. So, having said that, these are the ones that have completely, shattered my reality. My world was very, very big before, in terms of, happiness, in terms of doing what I love. And then my world just shrunk down to this small little world that I live in for the last 3 years. But still here, still trying to make the best of life, and it is what it is. You know, I can get into the politics of it, you know, in terms of the greed that these doctors, today's medicine is a joke. You know, like the FDA, Food and Drug Administration in the US, and Health Canada, you know, these antibiotics should never have been on the market in the first place. You know, the amount of people that have been injured, severely injured, I'm not about people from age, you know, as young as 16 all the way to 96 getting prescribed these things. People who even healthy adults, I mean, if they're allergic, this will absolutely impact you from head to toe. And I'll tell you about all the side effects that I experienced, you know, almost instantaneously, a lot of them, and some of them were delayed. So, you know, nobody should have to suffer as a result of the doctor's greed. Because let's be honest, they get all these, you know, all this money for each prescription on top of their actual salary, and then all the kickbacks that they're getting from pharmaceutical companies. You know, and who's talking about that? You know, there's not enough talk about that, about all the under the table stuff that's going on. You know, it's blood money. I mean, how many suicides have occurred as a result of these antibiotics? You know, tens of thousands, perhaps, all around the world. And how many people have been injured, killed? I don't know the exact figures, but way too many. It has to stop. So having said that, tell me about the side effects that I experienced. Okay, let's talk symptoms, also known as side effects. The symptoms from these antibiotics were excruciating. I think that's the best word. I can't even describe how severely impacted I was by these side effects. I thought I was going to die. You know, I didn't think I had a chance to survive. I have no idea how I survived all these symptoms. But let's start with some of the symptoms here. One of the first ones, brain fog. Just, you know something's not right when you're not thinking clearly the way you're used to thinking. So brain fog, one of the most common symptoms with these antibiotics. It was really bad. You know, people were talking to me, and I'm just not grasping anything. I'm just not comprehending what they're saying. So that's how I knew something was not right when I started having the brain fog. It was bad, you know. And it wasn't just, you know, them speaking to me and me not comprehending what they're saying. It was me unable to form my own thoughts, and, you know, the ability to get things out was extremely difficult. You know, I could not string sentences together, is the best way I could put it. Confusion, you know, just so much confusion in my head. I had no idea what was going on. Numbness, you know, I was extremely numb, apathetic. You know, I had just not a care. I didn't care about the role anymore. Suddenly, irritability. You know, I was very irritated by almost everything. You know, just small things would irritate me. Whereas before I was a very calm person. It was pretty much the opposite after the antibiotics. I got very irritated with everything. The next one is the extremely scary one for me here. It's suicidal thoughts. You know, I'll never forget just being out on the street and suddenly everything, and I mean everything in my head, is telling me to throw myself in front of the oncoming bus. You know, I mean, a rational mind wouldn't even fathom that thought. And here I am, you know, ready to throw myself in front of a bus. Or being at home, you know, I'm ready to wrap like a cord around my neck to suffocate myself, or holding a knife to my throat. You know, just things I would never, ever in a million years even imagine thinking about doing to myself. You know, suddenly I'm thinking about killing myself. You know, that's, I can't even imagine, you know, having to relive that. Memory loss, short and long term. This was a very big thing for me. You know, my memory was very sharp before. I could recall so many moments from my life. You know, especially my travels. I could remember almost everything. You know, all the places, all the things I had done, and suddenly it was like my mind was being wiped clean. You know, like you're formatting a hard drive. I mean, that's scary. That is scary. This is your identity. You know, this is what makes you you. And suddenly, that's being taken away from you by some damn pills. You know, so that was a scary one for me. You know, the memory loss was terrible. It was really bad. I mean, I remember being at work and I couldn't even tell, you know, what I had done just that whole day, that whole hour even previously. And then I was unable to form new memories. You know, for the longest time I couldn't even form new memories. So I would be without memories. I'm just memoryless. You know, I'm unable to form a single memory for the longest time. And that was scary as well, you know, because like you know something's way off when you can't form new memories. I couldn't concentrate, focus. You know, again, people are talking to me. I'm not hearing what they're saying. I'm not comprehending. I'm hearing it. It's just I'm not comprehending it. I couldn't process the information. When the time came to learn a new task, you know, it was so difficult for me to hold my attention to that task. I couldn't even, you know, learn a new task. And even performing old tasks, ones that I was familiar with. You know, I remember being at work, and something that I would always do that came second nature to me, suddenly I'm having trouble doing it. Like taking out a binder. You know, I'm taking out the wrong binders, or writing my name on the wrong spots. You know, just stuff that's so basic. I was screwing up. I couldn't make a decision. Inability to make a decision. That was a big one. You know, I couldn't decide what to have for breakfast. I couldn't decide what to have for dinner or supper. Just unable to make a simple, small decision. You know, everything just overwhelmed me. That was really bad. I mean, you know, when you can't make a simple decision, you know you're in trouble. Sound judgment was out the window. You know, I mean, I'll be honest. I drove the car. You know, quite a few times during this entire period of hell. And looking back now, I don't think I should have been driving. You know, I probably should have walked everywhere or something. I don't know. I don't think I should have been behind the wheel, because there was times where the world around me just was like I'm here and the world is like somewhere else. But yeah, if I was to do it again, I wouldn't drive. I wouldn't have driven anywhere. But it's hard to get around, you know, the city, so I did drive, unfortunately. Inability to feel all emotions. I could not feel emotions. Like, as humans, we're meant to feel. We're meant to, you know, have all the emotions, the joy. You know, the sadness is normal. You know, depression is a whole different thing. But I could not feel emotions. I was just completely numb, apathetic to everything. Which was one of the scariest things for me, you know, when you have this disconnect from life. It's extremely scary. You know, it's depersonalization, it's derealization, and that's one of the scariest things you can imagine. and just could not feel anything. Those are the neurological symptoms. Some of the other ones were like the abrupt wake up. Where I woke up 5:30 in the morning. This was as soon as I started that first antibiotic, and 5:30 in the morning. I never used to wake up at that time, and suddenly I'm just boom, just abruptly awake at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm wondering like why am I awake? And so from that moment on, I developed insomnia, which continues, believe it or not, to this day. 3 years later, and can you folks imagine, like 3 years of having insomnia? So that's what these antibiotics did. To this day, I still don't sleep the way I used to. You would think that 3 years later, your insomnia would be wiped out. But it's not. To this day, I still have trouble falling asleep and staying asleep. I'll sleep, later on in the night, a few hours, but it's nowhere. Before I used to sleep like a baby. Lack of energy. I mean, my God, I was so fatigued. I was just beyond fatigued. I had no energy. And I later found out that it's the mitochondria, the energy cell, the main energy hub that gives you all your energy throughout the day. And my energy was just wiped. That chronic fatigue syndrome, what is that? That's just a term that doctors made up for those people who are all affected by pharmaceuticals. Most of these people, I'm chronically fatigued, I have, fibromyalgia and all that. Well, think back to that time you took antibiotics. Maybe that's your source to that chronic fatigue syndrome. And that's exactly what happened. For the longest time, I had zero energy. To this day, my energy levels are nowhere near what they were before the antibiotics. And then there's the joint pain, the muscle pain, the tendon pain. My muscles, joints, and tendons were just impacted in the worst way possible. I'm talking about like feeling like I'm 100 years old at age. I'm 37 now. But 3 years ago was even worse. So I felt like I was 100 years old at age 34. Doctor, you're telling me that's normal? And I kid you not, these doctors, a lot of them will say, oh, you're getting older. You're aging. Who are you trying to fool? Who are you trying to fool that at age 34, you've got all these horrible aches, that you've got like all this arthritis suddenly, out of nowhere? Hearing loss. I lost my ears felt like they were clogged all the time, like I couldn't hear properly. They just felt filled up for the longest time. Blurry vision. I had double vision. I'm not seeing straight. Everything's double. Blurry. And floaters. I had floaters, like these black specks all over my field of vision, which was brutal. You're looking at walls, and the walls, before they'd be normal, and suddenly you've got all these little bits of, I don't know, like these things impacting your vision, and it's terrible because even outside, you look at the sky, and you see them there. You see them as plain as day, especially on cloudy days. Nausea was a big one, like always feeling like your stomach is nauseated, dry heaving. I remember trying to brush my teeth, and every time I put a bit of water in my mouth to brush my teeth, I'm dry heaving. I'm just like coughing out my lungs. Now you later find out that it's because, the toothpaste has fluoride in it. And guess what? Antibiotics, full of fluoride. And fluoride is it's a known neurotoxin. So why are they putting fluoride, a neurotoxin, into these antibiotics? Why? Why is it even in a toothpaste or our drinking water? That's the world we live in. It's just full of all these horrible things that shouldn't even be going on. urinary tract. I had issues with my urinary tract, muscle spasms. My muscles to this day they're still like there's a spasm to them. They're having issue just staying still. So it could be like my legs one day, it could be my arms, it could be. I remember at the beginning, I'll never forget this. My right eye was just twitching uncontrollably, like it was going crazy for the longest time, and I could not understand why. So these antibiotics, they cause massive muscle spasms, loss of appetite. I used to be a good eater, I used to love eating. My metabolism was good, thank God. But I lost my appetite, and to this day I haven't gotten it back really. To this day I don't eat as much as I used to. And weight loss, I lost so much weight. I think at the beginning I must have lost at least 20 pounds, maybe even 25. You could just see the muscle wasting away. It was the muscle I had in my legs, my arms, because I used to go to the gym, so I had a bit of muscle, and it was just wasting away. It was like becoming jello. You're telling me that's normal, doctor? Muscle just wasting away for no reason? Because that's what all the doctors were saying, they were just justifying it like it was normal. So no, it's not normal. And I know a lot of people have experienced these exact same symptoms. I would say 90% of people will tell you that they had the exact same thing, and they took the same antibiotics. So, folks, be aware. Be aware that, yes, you can, cure your infection or whatever with these antibiotics, but if you're allergic, you will most likely have majority of these symptoms. And do you really want that? You have to ask yourself, are you prepared to be, possibly disabled for the rest of your life? Because there are some people that are completely and utterly disabled for the rest of their life. Like I was bedridden at the beginning for the longest time, and it took me a long time to get back on my feet. To this day, I'm still not recovered. I'm still dealing with a lot of these symptoms that I just read out to you. So don't think for a moment that I've conquered all these symptoms. I haven't. But I have certainly overcome a lot of these. From that time to today, 3 years on, I'm a lot better, and I thank God every day for that. But I have a long way to go. I'm not there yet. Maybe if I took that first antibiotic and not the second, maybe I'd be closer to being 100% recovered, or at least 90%. But I am not recovered. I still have a ways to go. So I hope people understand that these symptoms are directly, undoubtedly, as a result of these antibiotics. Now, before I move on and speak about the personal life aspects of being affected by these antibiotics, I also want to add that the second antibiotic, the Cipro, it put me in a state of psychosis, basically. Psychosis is one of the worst horrific things you can experience, one of the most brutal things you can experience on this planet. So, I went through a really long spell of psychosis. That of course was accompanied by the suicidal thoughts, and it was very, as I stated earlier, I was very disconnected, disattached, if that's even a word, disconnected I guess is the word, from the world. Depersonalization, derealization are things that nobody should ever go through in their lifetime. But I went through it. I'd like to say that I've overcome it, but I know there's a lot of people who have taken these antibiotics and have entered that state of psychosis, and to those people, all I can say is just hang in there. That mental stuff, that state of psychosis, it will eventually subside, but it will take time. It will take a decent amount of time, depending how much of the antibiotic you took, how it affected your body, and the complications from it all. But yeah, just know that it will subside eventually, that you will restore your mind, that you will be able to feel more connected with the world down the line. I don't want to give a timeline of how long, for some people it could be months, but for some people it could be years. For me it did take a good chunk of time to get back to my semi-normal state. But just so people are aware, these psychiatric events that unfold as a result of these antibiotics, they cause so many injuries, but not only injuries, but so many deaths that are completely and utterly, unfortunate. They shouldn't be taking place. People should not be injuring themselves or killing themselves as a result of these antibiotics, yet it's happening every single day. So, something's got to give, because every single day people are committing suicide, and they think it's them. They think it's, that they're suddenly unhappy in life. But they're unhappy because their health is impacted. They're not putting the puzzle pieces together. Once they were to put the puzzle pieces together, they would realize that those antibiotics are the reason for their unhappiness, for their sorrow, for the hardship that they're going through in their life. So I hope more people are able to put the puzzle pieces together and make that connection. So now let me talk a little bit about the personal life aspect of what can happen if you take these antibiotics, in terms of your family life, your friends, your work. For me, it just tore my family apart. I was very close to my brother, my mom, my dad. I loved them to pieces, and this really, really tested our strength for one another. It's something no family should ever go through. I mean, no amount of, things that you did in your life should put you in the situation where you're at odds with your family because of the situation, where your employment is in jeopardy because of it. Because these antibiotics, they put people on the street, they make people homeless because they can no longer work, or because they spend all their money on supplements and treatments and therapies. I'll go through some of the things that I did in terms of my treatments and therapies and supplements, but people spend just fortune trying to get better, because let's be honest, like if you're sick, if you're feeling terrible, you'll do whatever it takes. You'll spend however much amount that you need to spend to get better. I mean, the money factor doesn't even exist when it comes to trying to get better, because you're willing to spend all your savings, every penny you got, to get better. And this is the problem, that we're spending money that we may not even have to get better, and as a result we're almost setting ourselves up for homelessness. There's relationships that are being broken apart completely. We have everything from husbands and wives having to leave that relationship because they just can't, their spouse, their significant other can't take it anymore. Whether it's a spouse or whether it's a boyfriend, girlfriend. It's so sad. It's so sad, and it's so unfortunate, and it's so unnecessary. If the FDA, if Health Canada and other agencies, regulatory agencies, just took these things off the market, we wouldn't even be having this conversation today. So yeah, it will affect your relationships. It will affect your friends too. I mean, even my friends, they just a lot of them just wanted nothing to do with me for the longest time because, I mean, I can't blame them because I'm going through my horrible ordeal. I didn't even want to be in their presence, and I didn't even want to be in my own family's presence. So, I remember at the beginning of this whole ordeal, I mean, my old man wanted to strangle me because he thought I was like faking it. He thought I was having a laugh. He thought he didn't think this was serious. He thought it was all just imaginary. Same with my mom. I mean, she was at the end of her wits. They're trying to enjoy retirement, and here their son is going through absolute hell. So no family should ever have to go through this. So why are doctors, why are pharmaceutical companies doing this to people, just tearing families apart? Why? I mean, we have to ask these questions. And, financially, as I said, employment-wise, I mean, I've had to leave work 2 times now. Twice I had to leave for, like, the first time for a year because I had a complete breakdown after the second antibiotic. I had like 5 people around me trying to like console me because I was ready to end it. I was ready to call it quits. These are people at work. And thank God I'm here because thanks to them, I'm still here because they talked me down. But I had to take a year off and I lost so much money, as a result. And then all the treatments, all the supplements, we're talking about thousands of dollars spent on treatment supplements so that you may or may not get better, but you're willing to take that risk because you'll do whatever it takes. So all I can say is, I mean, God willing, if you can avoid these antibiotics, please do, because you don't want your family to be, you don't want to be at odds with your family over this, or your employer, and you don't want this. You don't want this this headache. It's not worth it. So if you can, at all costs, just avoid. Another thing I wanted to mention is, for people who are dealing with this situation, who are in this situation. They go out and they get a lot of tests done, they get a lot of blood work done. God knows I've been jabbed in the arm, maybe like 20, 30 times at least in the first 2 years because I gave up about a year ago. I just cut all that out because, the blood tests, they don't show anything up. The damage with these antibiotics is functional as opposed to structural. So none of this stuff comes up in the blood test. All these injuries, all these horrible things that go on in the body, it does not show in the blood test. But nevertheless, it should be noted that I did do several tests, including an MRI, which I did in May of 2015. So just like about a month after the second antibiotic. I had an endoscopy done, or otherwise known as gastroscopy, where they put the camera inside your stomach to see if everything checks out there, and everything was fine. No cancer or anything like that, so that was good news. They didn't find any other issues there, but I know my stomach was really ravaged. I did a colonoscopy as well. Just to clear everything out, just to make sure, rule everything out, I should say. So all this stuff was fine in terms of the tests, but anybody who's going through this will tell you everything is anything but fine. But as I said, it's because this stuff does not show up on the blood test. It does not show up on any test for that matter. So another thing I should mention is that I did visit a naturopath about a month after the second antibiotic. So again, all hell was breaking loose at this time, and I was desperate for answers. So a naturopath was able to do some tests on me. This guy, he did the Chem10 test, whatever that is, adrenal function test, and an Indicam test. So those 3 tests were done, and the diagnosis was that I had, maybe I still have, leaky gut and adrenal fatigue. That was the diagnosis from that naturopath. So leaky gut, it's serious stuff. Adrenal fatigue is as well. He gave me a sheet that looks like this, and this basically states that my malabsorption, 0 to 1 is normal, 2 is significant, 3 is severe, 4 is critical. So apparently I was critical at that time for malabsorption. And for adrenal stress, I was less than 8 is a burnout, 9 to 17 hyperadrenal, 17 to 25 is normal, 25 or over is early exhaustion, and over 45 is exhaustion. I was at 48, so I was apparently severely exhausted as well. pH 5. Whether this can be taken seriously, it's up to each person to decide. But according to this naturopath, that I was extremely overexhausted, and my malabsorption was way off the chart there as well. But the naturopaths, again, you have to use your own judgment whether you want to visit them or not. When you're desperate, as I said before, you'll do anything. This gentleman here, he put me on some supplements. They look like this. And these supplements were meant to repair my gut. So it was Zinlori, Glutagenics, probiotic, 50 billion, and vitamin D3 that I was on for a little bit. I had to take myself off because, quite frankly, at that time, my stomach couldn't tolerate almost anything, including supplements. So, I took it for a while, and then I had to get off it because it just was making me worse than I was. And then, I went on this, like everybody else, you go on this hunt for anything and everything to make you better. So you hit up your local health food store, and anybody who's been to a health food store knows very well that it's overwhelming. You have like thousands upon thousands of supplements, and good luck finding the stuff that you need. But I did take some greens, something like that, which it's like a greens supplement, super greens or whatever you want to call it, superfood. Whether this stuff helped or not, maybe not. But at that time I was in extremely poor shape, so I was desperate for solutions. Then they have some more things that I took here, some B100 supplements, some omega-3, SAMe, and again, did this help? Well, it's hard to say. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. A lot of people turn to like seeds, coconut, and almond. Whether this stuff was beneficial, again, difficult to say. So, needless to say, I tried a lot of supplements, a lot of things, and nothing really stood out for me. But I should say that in terms of treatments, I did something called HBOT, which is short for hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and they put you in a chamber and you breathe in 100% oxygen. That treatment, I can safely say was the best, the one that helped me the most. There's people with cancer that go there, people with all kinds of really bad health issues use the oxygen chambers to get that oxygen in, to get it into the bloodstream, as well as into the rest of the body, including the brain. Oxygen, I mean, we're made up of oxygen, right? Like, I don't know the exact percentage, but it's really high water oxygen in the human body. So you can go wrong with hyperbaric oxygen therapy. It's expensive, it really is, but if you have the money, I do recommend it. It's really beneficial. It helped me a lot. It helped me, have more clear mind. It helped me with my muscle joint tendon issues. It helped me with my CNS problems, central nervous system, all the spasms, and just in general, I found it beneficial. I really did. I did quite a few sessions. I think I did 50 sessions in total. But you don't need to do that many. You can just easily do, anywhere from 10, 20, even 30 sessions if you can afford it. There's so many therapies and things out there. I can't comment on acupuncture or chiropractics and stuff like that. Some people get a lot of benefits from those things, and others say it has no difference for them. Another thing I did was I had like lymphatic massages, which is supposed to bring the toxicity towards the areas where they can be extracted. So for a lot of people that could be a solution as well, or at least a beneficial thing to do. I'm trying to think what else. Maybe sauna. So for some people, sauna is good. It works. Does a lot of good things for them, but then for other people it has negative effects. So that one you have to use your judgment. Maybe do one session of 10 minutes, see how you do, and then go from there. Something called earthing, where you connect to Mother Nature, to the ground. That works for some people. Helps with sleep. So that could be something you look into. Earthcalm is another company that you can look into. And I think in terms of these therapies and all kinds of band-aid solutions, again, you just have to find what works for you, and if it works, great, keep doing it. If not, I say just leave it behind, because there's a lot of things that can hurt you as opposed to help you. Now, even though I said that the things that are going on in the body, all the injuries and whatnot, don't show up on the blood test. It should be noted that the blood test that I did do at the beginning of my ordeal did show deficiencies in a few areas. So one of the areas was I had a low level of hemoglobin. So those are the red blood cells that are produced in the body. They carry oxygen in the body, so they're vital. And these antibiotics, they deplete them. So be aware that they do impact your red blood cells, which are vital to your well-being. Vitamin B12 was another one that I came low in. And of course B12 plays a key role in the functioning of the brain, as well as the nervous system, via the synthesis of myelin and the formation of red blood cells. So there's that connection to the red blood cells. If you're low in vitamin B12, it's a good chance, because your red blood cells are affected, so they go hand in hand. So both were low. Glucose was another one that I was low in. So no doubt the antibiotics also had an effect on my glucose. And of course, glucose is where your energy comes from. So you're low in glucose, you're not going to have as much energy as you should. And vitamin D was another one. So vitamin D, obviously, overall health is you need vitamin D in your body, and I was depleted in that as well. So you're looking at, again, that's hemoglobin, vitamin B12, glucose, and vitamin D. All of them were depleted as a result of the antibiotics, because I sure as heck was not depleted in those vitamins and prior to the antibiotics. So people should be aware that it will indeed deplete your vitamins, your minerals, and that's where a lot of the problems stem from, is when you have a depletion of these vital minerals and vitamins. And the stomach is vital to your health. I mean, if you don't have gut health, you don't have health, period. So everybody should be aware that these antibiotics, they destroy everything in your stomach. And we're talking about your microbiome is completely wiped clean. So your good bacteria, your bad bacteria, if you don't have balance between the good and the bad bacteria, and you need both. Like, don't let anybody tell you that, bad bacteria will make you it'll make you sick or it'll kill you. No, you need both the good and the bad bacteria. That's your immune system right there. So what these antibiotics do is they wipe everything out, the good guys and the bad guys. And when you don't have that balance, when you have, just when everything's just wiped out, it's going to leave you open. It's going to leave you open to infections. It's going to leave your immune system is going to be extremely compromised. So you're going to get sick all the time. So, the root cause of all diseases and disorders is its toxicity and its deficiency, right? So, you have 90% of your serotonin made in the stomach. So if you don't have that serotonin production in your stomach, you're not going to be healthy up at the top, in your mind, in your brain. So you've got to find a way to try and get that stomach to be in better shape, and whether it's supplements or whether it's just taking better, your lifestyle, taking better care of yourself. Exercise is another thing, obviously. So you've got to restore your gut to get your health back. And, once you have gut health, then things start to improve and you start to feel better up at the top. That's guaranteed. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the healing aspect of antibiotic-induced toxicity and how you can sort of start paving your way towards getting better, because you don't want to stay in a vicious cycle of constantly be sick. You want to actually be proactive. You want to do things that might assist you in your road to recovery. So I've read a lot of books in regards to toxicity, in regards to depression and anxiety, because let's be honest, depression and anxiety are a big aspect of antibiotic toxicity. When your mind's not working, when you've got that depressed state nagging you down, you've got to try to find a way to do things to improve your situation. So one of the things I read in the books was about depression causing distorted thinking patterns. It's very true, because when you're in that horrible depressive state, it just becomes a cycle of you going down that rabbit hole. So you've got to try to find a way to turn negative thinking into positive thinking. Just as hard as it is, and goodness gracious, I know all too well. You have to try and stay positive to get through this. There's no other way. So try to just reverse the negative thinking as best as you can. Also get busy with any activity, and I say any activity because for me, video editing, that literally saved my life. I love video editing, and when I was doing that for a long time, it took my mind off of all the hell that was going on. So whatever it is, it could be music, it could be watching your favorite movies, it could be any number of things. And I know it's hard to enjoy things when you're in that horrible suffering state, but it honestly is the only way. I mean, you can't just stay in bed all day. You've got to try to make some effort to enjoy something and anything, because life is short and there's just no other way to go about it. And just defeating those thoughts will make you feel good. It'll turn your situation into a more positive one. And we got to remember that perfect health is not an entitlement in life. That there's things that happen in life. for a long time I was blaming everybody and anybody, especially the doctors, the pharmaceutical companies, the regulatory agencies, in particular the FDA and Health Canada, and even the pharmacists, who gave me these horrible drugs, these poisons, and to this day I have a lot of anger towards these people because they give these things out like candy. So I was even blaming God and the devil himself for my misfortunes. So we have to sort of try to find forgiveness, I guess, towards a situation. I mean, if we don't forgive ourselves, then we'll always have that anger. We'll always have that hurt. So, it's hard. It's extremely hard. But we have to find a way to forgive not only ourselves, because we're always going to be blaming ourselves for this as well, right? Like, how could we do this to ourselves? How could this happen? But you're not our fault. You're just another victim. And there's millions of people like you around the world. Millions. So don't fret too much about the victim state. Try to just consider yourself a survivor. Because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to say, look, I'm a survivor. I was a victim at the beginning, but now I'm a survivor, and I really think everybody should do the same. We should all consider ourselves survivors, and that way we get out of that negative cycle of the victim cycle, which is not a good state to be in. And we just have to, find a program which works for us. Just if the gym works for you, do that. If the music works for you, do that. Find your happy place. And have some respect for yourself. Just always try to be the happiest you can be, even though you're in that horrible state. Because in the end, the person who can help you the most is you and only you. So respect yourself, respect your health, the situation you're in, and I guarantee you'll be happier if you start loving yourself more than you hate yourself. And there's, so many things you can do to make things a little bit better. Like sleep is a big thing, right? Try to sleep for as long as possible, especially at least 8 hours. I mean, everybody knows that sleep is critical to repairing all the injuries that have been sustained. Lots of water, right? So water is another big thing to have in our body so that the healing process can take place. Try to be as social as you can, as difficult as it is. There's many people out there that care about you. I guarantee it. I guarantee you there's people that want to help you. And reach out to these people, reach out to somebody, anybody, because at the beginning, I didn't even want to talk to anybody. I just wanted to be by myself. I didn't want to burden anybody with my issues. I knew I was spiraling down into the depths of hell, but I did not want to burden anybody with it. But when you don't burden somebody with your issue, you're setting yourself up for bad things to happen. Who knows what kind of thoughts will enter your mind. So start reaching out to people. It could be anybody, even your neighbor. I mean, anybody. You need help. You can't go at this alone, So try to get some help, please. Even there's so many depression groups. I attended a depression support group for, I think it was 6 or 7 weeks. And some people say, well, do I really want to listen to other people's problems and issues and health issues? The answer for me is yes. I mean, you should. If you're in that state where you have nobody to turn to, I mean, depression support group is the least thing you could do for yourself. So I have support around me, but I'm very thankful for the sessions that I attended, because I got to see and experience, that I'm not alone, that there's other people going through these horrible health problems and issues in their life. Exercising, I mean, we all know that exercise helps, but obviously with the joint muscle tendon issues, I really suggest taking it easy because you can do more harm than good with exercise. So you really have to listen to your body. Because I remember I was always trying to get at the gym. And I was always trying to go really hard, like push myself, put too many plates on and lift too much weight, and I was just making matters worse. Like I remember all my joints were cracking. I was like, what's going on here? Like that's not good. When your joints are cracking like eggshells, that's really bad. So I had to tone it down. I had to listen to my body more. And now I've been off the gym for a while, but hopefully I can get back, and hopefully this time around I can even lift more. Meditation works for a lot of people. I did it at the beginning. I would say it did help me. To what extent, I don't know, but it certainly, I don't think it hurt me. So if meditation is your thing, go for it. Fresh air, always good, right? Always good to be in the confines of the outdoors. Hiking is a big thing. I've sort of been, neglecting it because of my issues, but I need to certainly get back to it, and I think we all should. So oxygen, you can't go wrong with it. Good diet, I mean, that's a given. If we're putting, I mean, I'll be honest with you, if I eat anything that's like fried, or anything with gluten even, or casein, which is the protein in the milk, and gluten is obviously the protein in the wheat. So like suddenly I can't have this stuff anymore because it's making me sick. It's putting me in a bad state. So fruits, vegetables, that stuff, doesn't give me troubles, and I bet you a lot of people, because these antibiotics, they create allergies in people. They give people, gluten allergy, and they give people the casein allergy. So people become allergic to bread, milk, and that's a horrible thing, because before I used to eat milk and bread like it was going out of style, and now I can't, because it gives me troubles. So, just eat stuff that won't make you sick. So if it's fruits, eat fruits. If it's vegetables, eat vegetables. If it's, there's so many things like nuts and seeds that you can also eat. But there's also way more healthy options. I'm just trying to be as general as I can here. Being patient with yourself. I can't speak enough about that. If you're not patient with yourself, you're going to be in trouble, So I know it's difficult because you want to be better tomorrow or even today, but you've got to see this as a long-term thing. You're not gonna be cured overnight, and there's no magic pill, by the way. God knows I've checked everywhere. There is no magic pill. I wish there was. I wish that the same medical system that's causing so much grief for people, I wish they could invent a pill that could reverse all this. But it doesn't exist. So we need to be patient. We need to find, maybe several things, a multitude of things that would work towards getting us back onto health. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy, I talked about that. Very good. I think it helped me immensely. Now, my most recent discovery now, because my stomach just a week ago was in shambles. I don't know what was happening. Something really caused it to be upside down. So I've discovered that green tea with ginger and honey. Now the key word here is ginger. I'm talking about, going out to your local store, your local grocery store, and picking up ginger, cutting it up, putting it into the cup with the green tea, and let it steep for a while. I'm talking about give it a good at least 5 to 10 minutes, and add honey. Honey is the other thing you got to add in there, because that's the other key thing. So for anybody who's having those massive digestion issues and stomach issues, because almost everybody with antibiotic-induced toxicity has it, try that. Try the green tea with ginger and honey. Keep at it. So have it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner if you have to. I do it about twice a day. I do it for breakfast, and then later, towards late in the afternoon. And I have noticed a drastic difference in how I'm feeling in the stomach, and how I'm feeling up here. Because again, if this is improving, then this is improving as well. And then finally, Epsom salt baths. I mean, everybody's heard about those Epsom salt. The Epsom salt, normally you take a bath with it, but I've noticed that if you just soak your feet, you know, if you leave your feet in there for about 10 minutes with the salt, and I got this idea from somebody on the forum. This gentleman was recommending 10 minutes, just your feet in a pail, you know, and then with the Epsom salt in there, and that's supposed to put the magnesium back into your body, because a lot of people are magnesium deprived. So I've only done it for one night now. I intend to do it for a bit longer to see if my sleep improves. But that's another thing you can try, and just maybe putting in, you know, a bunch of salt in there. Once it dissolves, you can add more and see how you do with that. You know, that's all the solutions I got. You know, everybody has to sort of have their own plan to get better, and again, it might be a multitude of things that will help you, but we've got to do things. We've got to get things going in terms of the recovery plan, and I think if we proceed with all these different things, then I think things start to happen. So we've got to find ways to get better, because again, life is short, and being sick, it's just not right to be sick for too long in your life. One other thing I wanted to add was that you know, for a lot of people, you know, turning to religion is problematic, but I can't stress enough how much it helped me to know that God is with me, that He'll get me through this. So, you know, whether you're a religious person or not, you know, I wasn't overly religious, but I think you have to turn to something, you know, some higher power. So for me, turning to God and praying also helped me a lot, so maybe it'll help you. I mean, like I said, for everybody, there's different things that will work, and you need to find the solutions that work for you. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up this video now. I really apologize for the duration of this video. I really wanted to cover, as I said at the beginning, all the bases of being affected by these antibiotics. But before I wrap it up here, I just want to let everyone know that there's just so much help out there for those of us who are affected by fluoroquinolones as well as by other antibiotics. One site in particular that I credit with saving my life, and this is not this is not an exaggeration. I mean, this website is a website where all people from all walks of life and from all over the world come to get help, to get support. So it really helped me a lot, and I thank God, you know, for helping me find this site, because I don't know what I'd do without it. And it's a website called Floxyhope. This website was created and it's run by a person by the name of Lisa Bloomquist. You know, she herself was affected by Cipro, and she got hit very hard, and God bless her, she created this website which helps millions upon millions of people all over the world. So I just want to say thank you, Lisa, for allowing us to have this website, to be able to access it, to get incredible information, and to read other people's stories, and my own story is on there as well if anybody wants to check it out. If you go to the website, which is www.floxyhope.com, and you go over to the recovery stories, you can scroll down and find my name, Lucas, and you could read my story. You've heard all the details, but if you wanted to know more, you could read that as well. And you know, there's so many people that are on this website that are so incredibly affected, and again, the age, the race, everything. I mean, it gets all thrown out the window. You know, there's even doctors and pharmacists that get affected by this as well. So it's just something that affects so many people. So you know, I'm just grateful that these websites exist, and you know, Lisa's is not the only one. There's others out there as well. But just know that there's help out there that everybody can sort of turn to, and you know, just stay strong. Just stay just as strong as you can be. You know, eventually it gets better. I can say that. I can say that from experience now. I thought for sure I wouldn't get better, but I've made a lot of progress, and I know all those people in Foxy Hope. You know, they're all fighting the good fight as well. They're all getting better. So, you know, if there's something I can say for sure is that if you're feeling like there's no hope, then you know, please turn to Foxy Hope. Read all the posts there. Lisa's always open to emails as well, so you can send her an email if you're in a dark place. And like I said, just stay strong and keep going, and eventually things will improve. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being around to hear me out, my story, and I do wish all the best for you and anybody else that's affected. If it's your family member, and I wish them well. If it's you, I wish you well. Take care and Godspeed.